I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Martha, please call roll.
Davis. Here. Laura.
Here.
Inman.
Here.
Crane.
Here.
Quinn.
Here.
Rothrock.
Here.
Schlossmacher.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Thank you.
Before we get started this evening, I'd like to welcome any residents or members of the public who are joining us. There will be opportunities at various times on our agenda this evening for you to address the City Council. If you're here on a specific agenda item, please raise your hand to be recognized. If you have comments or questions on the issues that do not appear on tonight's agenda, you will have the opportunity to come forward tonight under item 5, public comments. Tonight we will be installing our elected officials who were elected in November. Councilmember Quinn did not choose to run for re-election. He will be truly missed. Councilmember Quinn has served on the council since April 2012. He's been a thoughtful and reasoned member of our governing body, always willing to add to our discussions, ask challenging questions around a variety of issues, and support our residents, businesses, and staff. Plus, Councilmember Quinn always brings a little more fun and laughter to any situation, as you just witnessed. Would any of the members of council like to say anything?
I would. Before you, Debbie, sorry. Pat, you were my fellow board mate. You are. So you know me. And we didn't see eye to eye on a handful of things, but you're always kind. You're always ready to listen. And you're always responsive to folks in mission. And I think that those are far and away, no matter where we saw each other on an issue, the most important qualities of any council member. So thank you for mentorship and friendship, and have fun fishing.
If I knew you felt that way, I would have stayed.
Debbie?
I just want to thank Pat for serving 2 terms for this city. He's made a real difference in how we do business. And I think he brings a sense of humor and a sense of being grounded in what we decide on a day-to-day basis. And I just want to thank him for bringing his expertise. And I want to thank his wife, Mary, who's with her mother constantly. Her mother is ill and doesn't always have the time to be here. And I thank her for letting Pat share time with us. Thanks.
I'd just like to ask if you're still going to stick around to be able to be DJ Pat Quinn in the summer events next year.
I'm sure I will, yeah.
Good. Otherwise, we got to teach Ken how to get it.
You may not like my music.
Pat, you better show up.
Anyone else?
I would. Thank you.
April of 2012. Seems like forever ago and yesterday when you were elected to the City Council. I have to say it was probably a bit of a bumpy time in Mission's history. We were experiencing change on a whole lot of fronts. One of the things we've heard about Pat's honesty, but Pat was certainly honest and upfront from the very beginning that there were some very specific things happening in his city that really moved him to action and caused him to run for the council. Probably best summed up as the 2 Ds, debt and the driveway tax. It's the only time I'll ever say it. Pat was no stranger to Mission and Mission City government, but it was fun in a weird staff member kind of way to watch him just really start to take in the volumes and volumes of information and learn more about the whys and the whatnots of the things that were happening. In my years of public service, I've learned that that's certainly never a given with an elected official, and you never want to take that for granted. One of the things that I've come to learn and appreciate about Pat over the years, that if he's going to commit to something, he's all in. He took that same approach to his election to the council and was willing to pick up the phone or meet for lunch to ask questions and gather more information about an issue. For those on the outside looking in, His voting record over the last 8 years may not always clearly tell the story of a man who was willing to express an opinion, but even more importantly, willing to change an opinion if the reasons were compelling. Thank you, Pat. In many ways, you helped make us better at what we do. I have personally appreciated your leadership, your support, and your sense of humor, and you will be missed. Now, make no bones about it, we will miss Mary more.
Exactly.
But we look forward to seeing you every once in a while to hear your fishing stories. So as we bid you farewell, I thought it only fitting to send you on into the next chapter of your life with a special limerick. So, my feeble attempt at poetry. I did not call Dr. Garrity because I knew that those would be limericks that we could not share in public. And I do have one bleep in my own, so to know you is to love you. So there once was a Quinn named Pat, and on missions council he sat. He brought wisdom and wit and put up with no, add the appropriate rhyming word, and we owe him a thanks for all that. So thank you, Pat.
Pat, would you like to share?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks for all the kind words. I also wanted to thank all of my constituents in Ward 1 who voted me into office and trusted me to represent them fairly and with common sense. I hope that I lived up to their expectations. I want to give a thank you to Steve Schollenberger, who is here, for talking me into running for city council, and to all the people, some of them here, who supported me in that endeavor. I volunteered to serve my country in the United States Navy Air back during Vietnam, and I'm proud of my service there and of the men and the women that I served with. But running for city council, I also volunteered to serve my community and my neighbors in Ward 1. And I'm just as proud of this service and of the men and the women who have sat on this dais with me. And, this current mayor and city council, as well as all those who have served with previously, they all had one thing in common, and that is a deep love for our city and a desire to see this community thrive. And it's been fun watching you all work toward that end. I'm a firm believer in term limits, and at the local, state, and federal levels. And with that said, I'm going to limit myself to 2 terms here. And I may be back up to talk to the council about other term limits in the future. It really does my heart good to know that I'm leaving this governing body with the city of Mission in excellent shape and in good hands. Our city administrator and our city clerk, Laura Smith and Martha Summerall, are both, in my humble opinion, excellent at their jobs and are truly the backbone of all things administrative that happens here in the city of Mission. Our public works and parks and rec departments are under new directorships, and I couldn't be happier with the people that are running and working in those departments right now. Our police department continues to do an outstanding job serving our community. They don't just deal with the crimes that have already happened, but they actively dissuade and prevent crime in our area. They patrol and are visibly seen in all areas of the city. They're also involved with every community project and outreach project that goes on in the city, and they've received national and international attention for their community involvement, and I'm very proud of them. Thank you to all the men and women on the Mission PD. I also want to recognize all the people who volunteer to serve on our various committees and commissions. These volunteers do an amazing amount of work and sometimes go unrecognized. I want you all to know that you're truly appreciated, and I'm totally aware that you keep the wheels and the gears of the city turning, and without you, the city machine would grind to a halt, no doubt about it. And that brings me back to the dais here. Mayor, who's not with us, but Mayor and Council, it's been my honor and privilege to have served with you. I know that you will continue to lead this city to bigger and better things in the future. I do want to leave you with one last challenge, though, before I go. The Mission Holiday Adoption Program is committed to helping this year 107 families this Christmas with food and gifts for families that need the help. Their volunteers and sponsors do a lot, but they also need some monetary help, and they need some extra monetary help this year. So I'm going to ask you to join me. This is my challenge.
Since there's 107 families, I'm going to donate $107. I'd like to challenge you all to do the exact same thing, and we'll make a nice donation to that program from the City Council. And with that, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Pat, if you would come forward, I'd like to present you with the plaque on behalf of the Veteran Fund and appreciation for all of your hard work.
All right. Go that way, see.
Like, well, I'm listening.
Is that the portrait of me they're going to have? That's going to be nice. Oh, thanks.
All right.
Here.
And actually, I'm good there. So, all right, stand in front.
Hang it.
All right, there we go. I would like to present this to you, Pat Quinn, for all of your hard work and dedication over the years. You are truly one of a kind, a unique soul, and we will miss you dearly.
Thank you very much. Yeah, inappropriate hug. Carry on. Thank you.
You can stick around, you know.
I will for a couple of minutes.
It is now time to administer the oath of office to our elected officials. I'd like to ask Trent Boultinghouse, Nick Schlossmacher, Kristin Inman, and Ken Davis to come forward, and our city clerk will administer the oath.
I'm gonna go that way. I don't trust myself.
Right up here. And raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear and affirm
I do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the laws and ordinances of the City of Mission,
and the laws and ordinances of the City of Mission,
and faithfully discharge my duties
and faithfully discharge my duties
as council member of the City of Mission, Kansas.
as council member of the City of Mission, Kansas.
Congratulations.
Hold it, one more.
And then I have your oath for you.
Yeah, I think hands up, I think it's great. Okay, now hands down.
Okay.
Okay, one more. Okay, thank you.
Each of you sign, if you could. Nick, here is your picture. That's going right there. Thank you. Yeah, you have. Video. Congratulations. Video.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and go down the line. Let's start with Nick. Do you have anyone you would like to recognize in the audience tonight? Or any words you'd like to say?
Yeah, I would just like to thank the citizens of Mission for this opportunity. There were 13 people that took the time out to go and vote right at someone else. Obviously, I'm not doing the best job ever up here, but I'm glad they're giving me another shot at it. They didn't totally kick me out. But to everyone that supported me, especially my wife, thank you all.
Kristin?
Yeah, thank you for everybody in Ward 3, and I appreciate any of you
feedback that you all have given me, and of course, I appreciate the support that I've gotten from my husband, Billy, right?
Trent?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Councilmember Quinn on his service to mission. I look forward to filling his shoes, and I appreciate his graciousness. We actually met when I was first beginning my campaign. Real nice guy, and I just really enjoyed getting to know him. I'd like to thank the mission staff for helping me in this transition. I'd like to thank the current members of council. I think I was able to meet with everybody and just kind of learn from them too. I'd also like to thank my parents who came up from Girard, Kansas, where I'm originally from, in the southeast corner of the state. My brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my wife, and of course my friends who also made it out tonight. And of course, last but not least, the constituents of Ward 1, many of whom I got to meet this campaign cycle, and couldn't be more humbled to represent them. So thank you for them too.
Ditto. I'd just like to say thank you to all of Ward 1 and all of Mission, and I'd also like to say thank you to the staff for the support. Ward 4. I'm sorry. Ward 4. I'd like to recognize my wife, Dr. Cheryl Carpenter Davis, who's here in the audience with me. Say hi. And with that, I welcome another 4 years. Actually, a new 4 years, because I was actually appointed for 2 years by the mayor. So I'll have another 4 years to go. So thank you very much.
Next on the agenda, we have public hearings, and we do not have any public hearings tonight, so we will move on to special presentations. We do have 2 special presentations tonight this evening, and we'll begin with the presentation of Pearl Harbor poster from Charles Schollenberger. Ms. Smith?
Thank you. Pleased to be here this evening and make this special presentation. We have unveiled this poster once at our Pearl Harbor Remembrance event over at the Community Center on December 7th, but wanted to take the opportunity to invite Mr. Schollenberger to join us here this evening and share that with you. I know many of you were unable to attend that event this year. This has been a really kind of fun and important journey for us over the last 6 weeks? Yeah, probably or so. I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Schollenberger, who is a former journalist, retired journalist and communications executive. He has spent time with the Kansas City Star and the North Johnson County Sun publication. He covered, among other things, the Mission City Council, and particularly around the time of the construction of our community center. So no stranger. He is a Prairie Village resident, so we'll forgive him for that. But certainly a history buff and someone who has had a keen interest in helping to ensure that we all, and particularly the next generation, have the opportunity to stay connected to our past and our history. Mr. Schollenberger worked for the Sun at the time that Mission's first Pearl Harbor event was put together in 2001. The poster that we're going to present, which he is generously gifting to the city for display at the community center, was one that he told me tonight. I realized over the course of this, I didn't ask him how he had acquired it, but he acquired it at an estate sale. But this is an official commemorative poster that was issued by the U.S. War Office. The artist is Alan Sahlberg, and as you'll see in just a few moments, is really a remembrance of that important event in December of 1941. Mr. Schollenberger brought the poster to the Pearl Harbor event in 2001. It was 3 months following the attack on 9/11 in September of that year, and we experienced sort of a wave of patriotism that was sweeping through the country, similar to that which had followed the attack on Pearl Harbor. And he was able to secure the signatures of 11 of the Pearl Harbor survivors on the poster. So not only is it an important reminder for us nationally, but it has very direct ties to the event that we hold here, and particularly one of our local Pearl Harbor survivors, Dorman Lampkin, who we lost just this last year. So with that, I would like to invite Mr. Schollenberger. We'll take the drape off of this poster and then get it off that easel so we don't have to worry about it falling to the floor. So. Up or down?
Up.
Okay, ready? Thank you. All right. Absolutely, because I'm going to just take this off the easel. Then I can breathe a little easier. There we go. And we can see Mr. Davis.
As Laura told you, I had the privilege of covering Mission City Council in the early 2000s. And some of the big issues then were the construction of the community center, the merger of Countryside. Some of the council greats that were on the council then were John Weber, were Will, Susie Gibbs, and of course our incomparable former mayor, Sil Powell, who I had the pleasure to meet. I was assigned to cover the first meeting of the Pearl Harbor Survivors group that met in the community center in 2001 as a reporter for the Sun newspapers of Johnson County. And I'm kind of a history buff, and I thought, wow, this would be a great opportunity to bring this authentic 1942 Pearl Harbor poster that I acquired at an estate sale sometime earlier, and have these survivors sign it. Well, 11 of them did. And I took it home and I put it in my file. And over the years I thought, well, you know, this doesn't really belong here. It belongs in the Sylvester Powell Community Center. It belongs in a place where the Pearl Harbor survivors met faithfully each year for 20 years. So I called about 6 weeks ago, Laura, and she swung into action. And we got the thing framed in record time. It turned out beautifully. And now I'm pleased to present a permanent memorial of all these veterans who met here so faithfully for 20 years and reminded us of the need for constant vigilance. And Laura mentioned 9/11. 9/11 had just occurred 3 months earlier from this first meeting in September of 2001, and that was still very much in the atmosphere, the fear and the patriotism that it generated. And again, another opportunity to realize that freedom isn't free, that we have a price to pay for it, and I'm pleased to present this in the honor of all these former Pearl Harbor veterans. And thank you for accepting it.
Our second special presentation this evening is from the Police Department. Chief Hadley.
Sorry, most police don't like to be up front. So thank you for the time tonight. The first thing I'd like to do is we always introduce our two new people. Anybody new, once they get out of field training, tell you that Captain Lane from Patrol runs a pretty tight ship and they got to make it through that before we bring them before you. But before we get to that, you see a lot of officers back here in street clothes. It shows you how tight-knit of a family it is downstairs that they're here on their own time. So I thank all of you for coming and representing your fellow brothers and sisters. So this is what I told you guys before. You're going to be frontline. I told them each one's 10 minutes. Just prepare at the top, it's 10 minutes. We're going to ask you guys to introduce yourselves, introduce your family that's here, and tell everybody where you're from and what brought you here to Mission. No, I appreciate it, face the council.
I'm Nick Marengo. I spent the last couple of years working for Leawood PD and then came here in March. Been pretty happy with the changeover. So in total, I've almost been a cop for 3 years. Other than that, I'm from Johnson County. Most of my family's from New York. I come from a pretty big Italian family, so we're all really close. Unfortunately, my wife couldn't be here. She's a nurse at KU, and she had to work tonight, so she couldn't get off, especially with all the crashes. They weren't letting anybody leave. So tonight it's just me. But overall, like I said, I've been pretty happy since I made the jump from that department to this department. It's been a lot of a lot of changes just based on what I've experienced as an officer here. The command staff downstairs is completely different than most command staffs that I've seen in other departments, and then just the city in general. It's been a pretty good experience. So.
Welcome.
My name is Bill Beckley. This is my first law enforcement career. Before this, I worked for Title Protection for 4 years. My family and I are born in Ethiopia. We moved out here when I was 4 years old. Lived in Kansas since then. Just new career. It's been a little bit up and down, just learning new things. It's been amazing though. A lot of good trainers and supervisors that I've had. It's been an amazing time. Today I brought my girlfriend with me. She's a partner. She's been helping out through everything, so it's been awesome so far, and I plan on enjoying the rest of my career here.
And next time, you guys don't have to talk so much about Kirk. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, that's all we have for special presentations. Next, we have issuance of notes and bonds, and we do not have any issuance of any notes or bonds on our agenda. Next, we have the consent agenda. Our consent agenda has 8 items tonight. Our council committees met on December 11th and fully discussed each of these items. The committees agreed that the items listed on our consent agenda are routine enough to be considered under the single motion. Several other items considered by the committees will be presented under committee reports later on our agenda tonight. If a council member or a member of the public would like an item removed from the consent agenda, they may request that at this time. Is there anyone who would like an item removed from the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I move the city council adopt the consent agenda as printed, items 4A through 4H.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Martha, please call the roll.
Davis.
Aye.
Schlossmacher.
Aye.
Flora.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Inman.
Aye.
Crane.
Aye.
Rothrock.
Aye.
Boultinghouse.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, next on the agenda we have committee reports.
Public comments. Number 5.
See, I'm trying to skip through. So, this is the opportunity I spoke about at the beginning of the meeting where if there's a member of the public that would like to comment on any items not on our agenda, please come forward and state your name and city of residence for the record.
I'm Frank Bruce, 5706 Lamar, and I'm actually here speaking on behalf of my wife. It is her feeling that the city should recognize Johnny's Barbecue for the many years of not only serving us, but also serving the city. Because I know most of the times that we had anything catered, it was Johnny who did that. He's been a great corporate citizen, and I think it's just apropos that we do something to make Johnny special before he leaves us. Thank you.
Thank you. Good suggestion.
Anyone else? All right, next on the agenda we have the action items for the Planning Commission. We have one item from our Planning Commission this evening, the approval of the preliminary plat, Gateway second plat. Mr. Scott, will you please provide an overview of this item?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the City Council.
Yeah, I'm reading off a different agenda.
Okay,
so.
sorry.
Okay, the item before you tonight is the proposed preliminary plat for the Gateway Second Plat. This is approximately 16.5 acres located at 4801 Johnson Drive. We all know it as the Gateway site. The first plat was approved by the City Council back in 2013. At that time, the property was platted as one large lot. The developers have since subsequently submitted a plat that now shows 6 individual lots for each of the components of the building, of the project itself. So that would comprise Lot 2, which is approximately 2.25 acres for the hotel, Lot 3, which is 3.7 acres for the apartment buildings located at Johnson Drive and Roland Drive, Lot 4, which is 3.8 acres for the parking structure in the middle of the site, Lot 5, which is 1.8 acres for the food hall, Lot 6, which is 2.8 acres for the Synergy building, and finally Lot 7, which is 1.5 acres for the office building. This lot also shows a dedication of right-of-way, approximately 1,296 square feet of right-of-way, including traffic signals along Roland Drive. The entrance developed off of Roland Drive, and right-of-way dedication number 2 is 10,174 square feet, which is the right-of-way along Johnson Drive. And finally, right-of-way dedication number 3 is 3,500 square feet, which is the right-of-way along Rowe Avenue. There's also several easements on the plat for the reinforced concrete boxes that go through the property, as well as the sanitary sewer that was realigned this summer, and some utility easements. So that really concludes my report. Here to answer any questions. I think we're representative from the engineering firm as well.
I would entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move that the City Council uphold the recommendation of the Planning Commission and 1, rescind the previously approved Gateway Second Plat, 2, approve the newly submitted preliminary and final plat, case 19-07, to be known as the second Gateway Plat.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Martha, please call the roll.
Flora,
Aye.
Boultinghouse,
Aye.
Inman,
Aye.
Crane,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schlossmacher,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Rothrock.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, that's all we have for item 6. We will move on to committee reports. Councilmember Flora, will you please provide a report on our Finance and Administration Committee?
Yes, thank you. The Finance and Administration Committee met on December 11th and considered a total of 10 items, including approval of the meeting minutes. One item, the contract for lobbying services with Little Government Relations, was discussed during the Community Development Committee meeting in order to accommodate the presenters. The meeting also included discussion of potential issues for inclusion in the city's personnel policy and guidelines update for 2020, which will be finalized after the first of the year. 6 of the action items from the meeting were approved on tonight's consent agenda. We have 2 remaining items from Finance and Administration Committee tonight for consideration. The first is the 2020 IT Support Services contract. Mission has contracted with Johnson County to provide IT services and support for various departments since 2011. The 2020 renewal agreement for these services includes an increase in fees and rates of 2% with a total estimated cost of $56,026. In addition to network support, DTI has provided support for special projects. In 2020, they will be assisting the police department with moving to laptops that are being purchased for new police vehicles and support for transitioning to a new vehicle provider. A separate agreement for those services will come forward to council when the scope of work is more clearly defined. I move the City Council approve the interlocal agreement and project charter for IT services with Johnson County through December 31st, 2020 in an amount not to exceed $56,026.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I was actually going to put this on non-consent, but I had a few questions answered, so I'm okay with that discussion.
I would just like to say for following 2020, I'd like to maybe consider going out for bid to look at some additional options on these services. I know we've got the DTI. Sometimes it's been okay. I'd just like to see if there's some other options out there, or if they really are the best for us.
Yes, that was our plan.
Just a quick note to anyone that's here for the first time, although it may not look like we're discussing anything, most of the conversation happened in our committee meeting, so just a quick note about that.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Last. Martha, please call roll.
Inman,
Aye.
Flora,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Crane,
Aye.
Boultinghouse,
Aye.
Rothrock,
Aye.
Schlossmacher.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, our second item is contract for lobbying services with Little Government Relations. Little Government Relations has approached cities in Northeast Johnson County to provide lobbying services in Topeka on behalf of the participating cities. Their services would include monitoring and reporting on legislation and policy initiatives, providing weekly legislative updates during the session, and during the interim providing at least monthly updates, availability to appear before governing bodies as requested, facilitating communications with members of our legislative delegation, serving as a contact point and resource for city staff and officials to discuss and strategize on local government public policy issues, pursuing legislation, amendments, funding, or other initiatives on behalf of the coalition members, working closely with community partners, including the Northeast Johnson County Chamber of Commerce, the county, Shawnee Mission School District, and the League of Kansas Municipalities. The proposed fee for these services would be $1 per person, per mission resident, per year based on the most recent census data with a maximum annual amount of $10,000. The term of the contract would be from January 1st through December 31st, 2020. I move the City Council approve a contract with Little Government Relations to provide government affairs and advocacy services for the City of Mission, January 1 through December 31st, 2020, at a cost not to exceed $1 per person, mission resident, based on current census data and not to exceed $10,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay.
When this was brought up in committee, I really felt that we really didn't need this lobbying contract. I believe that the League of Municipalities, Kansas Municipalities, covers a lot of our interests. I know that the League represents both small and large cities, both rural and urban, and that this is intended to be a coalition for local Northeast Johnson County cities. It's also my understanding that the pricing of this is on the basis of per person. So the 10,000 is based on the population of the city rather than the effort of this lobbying firm. I disagree with that. I don't believe that this should be on the basis of the population. I know that this company represents associations and they don't charge on the basis of membership number. So I don't know where the effort is really measured in terms of time and effort. I also understand that not all of the cities in Northeast have subscribed to this at this point in time. I understand that the matter's been tabled in the city of Prairie Village. It'll probably come up later for discussion. So for that reason, I am going to oppose this this proposal, even though I know it was just to try for a year and see how things went. Personally, I disagree with this move.
Yeah, I was here for the discussion on this in committee last time, and I found that argument to be compelling, but I also really thought that Mr. Little, the way that he presented his services, seemed like it could be a benefit for the city. I actually reached out to two members of the Kansas legislature from different parts of the state who I know, and both were very steadfast, and they recommended him and thought that he did a really good job. And I think for the consideration of just having this for a year and considering that it will put the city's issues kind of at the forefront of what he will be advocating for us on behalf, I think this is something that would be good for the city to do, especially considering the mayor's interest in it. So I will be supporting this.
Lori?
I think our issues in Mission, particularly Northeast Johnson County and Johnson County in general, have become really unique to Kansas, and I think for that reason, exploring lobbying services is a right move. I'd like to see more cities sign on. Maybe we're the first alongside Merriam. But it seems like an affordable way to see what could be brought to us, and also a good way to keep our ear to the ground and see what's going on a little bit better than what we necessarily hear from the league. So I will be voting in support of this. Solly?
Yeah, I would just echo those sentiments. I think that the services we can get will provide a unique perspective for Northeast Johnson County, and then also, things move so fast in the State House and not always in a transparent manner. And so I think having, sort of eyes and ears on the ground in Topeka will help us. I think we're only committing to a year contract, and so I think it's in the city's interest to try this out for a year, and I'll be in support.
I actually have to echo some of the sentiments of Councilmember Davis. While this all sounds interesting, I think it'd be great to get some lobbying service or somebody to represent the city. What we're signing up for here is really to be part of a coalition across multiple Northeast Johnson County cities. And this lobbying firm is going to go to Topeka and lobby for probably the same issues whether or not we sign on board. They really didn't have any kind of good answers when I asked about how can we really show ROI, other than letting us know that we get some more reporting and maybe a little bit more information from them on things that go on in the State House. I think if people are really interested in finding that information, it's out there without them. So if there was some opportunity to really take on going after a lobbyist specifically for us, that we could really make sure they're putting our values first and not the values of a bigger coalition, I'd be interested in exploring that. I know that cost is probably astronomically higher, but I don't see the benefit to the city. I don't see how it's going to make any difference in what these guys are doing, whether or not the city of Mission signs on, other than maybe we get some more email reports at the end of the year. So for that reason, I'm not going to go support this.
Anyone else?
I might, and I know that Mr. Little reached out to the mayor and Councilmember Flora today. I had asked the question based on that discussion at the committee meeting about whether or not he would be willing for the same price to be mission-specific lobbyist, and he would be. Same price that we would pay if we were part of the coalition. So if you want to look at a contract that is more consistent with those, certainly we know the price would be the same. And it does sound as if, at least at this point, I think there are some cities that will take it up again after the first of the year, but Fairway, Roland Park, and Westwood, as I understand it, at this point have declined to be members of the coalition.
Solid.
I had a question related to that. So if we committed tonight to the services, could we then determine, sort of based on how it plays out, whether we want that individual contract or coalition? Is that
I think you have a little bit of time to really kind of negotiate contract terms, but knowing that it would be the same price. But I think if you're interested, I think the balance is do you want to wait to try it for a year? Do you want to secure him as mission specific? Again, I think he would be there if other members join. We know Merriam. Merriam is a current client of LGR's, and they will continue to be a client going into the 2020 session. So I think you have some options there.
I'd be more interested in that, honestly.
In light of this recent news, I would lean towards mission specific. So I guess with us, if we choose not to move forward, we can still continue those conversations and know that they are the same price, or?
Yes, he did confirm today that he would be mission specific for the same rate.
Is that negotiable at all? I mean, is there some other metric that he can use other than population based? In terms of time and effort?
He hasn't indicated as such, and in conversations before his first presentation, I think this is the manner, right, wrong, or indifferent, by which they've charged the city of Merriam for quite some time. And so I think, I don't know whether it's a concern about opening up a negotiation and then, revisiting that with existing clients kind of this close to the start of that, but he hasn't indicated that there would be another method to evaluate compensation.
So, yeah, I was just gonna say, I would be in favor of, I think that the motion is broad enough to encompass either a mission-specific contract or being a member of a coalition. So I would like to move forward with approving the contract, and then we could maybe discuss at our January committee meeting. That would still give us time to decide which route we wanted to take with the actual contract.
Anyone else? Martha, please call roll.
Flora.
Aye.
Inman.
Aye.
Crane.
Nay.
Boultinghouse.
Aye.
Rothrock.
Aye.
Schlossmacher.
Aye.
Davis.
Nay.
Thomas.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Martha.
And that concludes the Finance Administration Committee report.
Councilmember Thomas will provide a report on our community development.
Thank you, Madam President. The Community Development Committee also met on December 11th and discussed 9 items, including the contract for lobbying services with Little Government Relations. Items on the committee agenda included approval of the committee minutes and an informational item from the Planning Commission on the recommended approval of the preliminary plat, the Gateway Second Plat. The committee discussed 3 items, including the asset management update, Johnson Drive reconfiguration, and recommendations for the CIP committee. 1 action item from the committee meeting was approved on tonight's consent agenda, and there is 1 remaining item for consideration. That item is the contract award for the comprehensive plan update. Mission's comprehensive plans date back to 1968 with regular updates of those plans throughout the years. The most recent comprehensive plan to be adopted by the city was in 2007 with an update in 2011. Mission has evolved since the last update, so it is now time to complete a global review and update of the city's comprehensive plan. An RFP was issued this past summer with 9 responses received. A selection committee, including Mayor Appletop, Councilmember Rothrock, Planning Commissioner Duclos, and several staff members reviewed and scored all proposals and then interviewed 5 firms. Based on a number of factors, including cost considerations, the selection committee is recommending the city enter into a contract with Confluence for the update of the comprehensive plan in an amount not to exceed $120,000. The project is expected to take approximately 12 months and will include a review of existing comprehensive plan and master planning documents, an analysis of emerging trends in residential and commercial land uses and population, including projections for market demand in housing, office, retail, and industrial land uses for 20 years into the future, analysis of the existing transportation network and the use of complete streets for multimodal accessibility and transportation-oriented development, analysis of existing technology infrastructure, including fixed broadband deployment to identify gaps in broadband access and opportunities to take advantage of access for economic development. Analysis of the existing land use classifications and zoning, including the preparation of potential land use categories and supporting regulations based on the analysis and community input throughout the process. I move the City Council approve a contract with Confluence for the update of the city's comprehensive plan in an amount not to exceed $120,000.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Martha, please call roll. Oh, just kidding.
Just kidding.
I apologize. I apologize.
No, I just think that it's very timely for us to go ahead and do this. We hadn't done one since 2007. It's been updated in 2011. It's really time for us to do that. A lot has changed since 2007, so I'm very supportive of this.
At our committee meeting, a representative from Confluence and the team that will be working on this came and had a lot of wonderful things to present, and I think that the city and staff will be in good hands as we move forward.
Martha, please call roll.
Davis.
Aye.
Boultinghouse.
Aye.
Rothrock.
Aye.
Inman.
Aye.
Flora.
Aye.
Crane.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Schlossmacher.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That concludes my report, Madam President.
So just wanted to recognize, I think we have a few younger people in the audience tonight, and if you'd like to come forward and maybe introduce yourself or, yeah, I was gonna say, I see one back there, but.
You can just raise your hand from the back row. Right?
Short straw.
I'm Isaac Chandler. I'm from Sean Mission North.
Welcome.
Thanks for coming
Thank
tonight.
you. Thanks for being here.
Okay, next we have unfinished business, and we do not have any unfinished business tonight. So we are moving on to new business. We do not have any new business either. Item number 10 is comments from the city council. This is the opportunity for comments from our council members. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what Councilmember Quinn had mentioned earlier about the family adoption program, we still need a lot of help. There's, I think, 107 families that we're up to this year that we're going to be sponsoring. I know that people have been out buying a lot of gifts, and they started wrapping stuff. But if anybody can make it on Friday, especially between 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., somewhere in that time, I know we always do a lot of help wrapping stuff, just moving stuff around, packaging meal baskets. And if anybody would like to step up and donate some money, I know the program is always looking for it to definitely use it. Everything goes right into the program. Doesn't get eaten up by any kind of administrative costs or anything. That can be done through the city admission charitable fund. So, hope to see whoever can make it on Friday, and I know it's always a great program for the community.
Yeah, I just wanted to report that yesterday, the Regional Climate Coalition, Climate Action KC, held an event to launch their local policy playbook. So that will give us some good items to discuss at our Sustainability Commission. And Emily was there representing staff, and we had Andy Highland from our commission. There were 250 people there from all across the metro, and I'm really looking forward to, as a council, continuing our work on the environment.
And the playbook, the link to the playbook is posted on the city's website. I don't know if you saw that from Emily. We wanted to be able to get that out on our sustainability page. Emily was very excited with the came back. So,
Research playbook is probably the easiest way to find it.
yes, and so we'll look forward to weaving that into our conversations in the next year.
Councilmember Jones?
I wanted to say a quick congratulations to Councilmember Flora for being nominated and selected to be on the Kansas League of Municipalities governing body. She is one of 12 people in the entire state of Kansas to be on this governing body, and it's a pretty big deal. And we're really lucky to have someone from Mission representing. Maybe we didn't need that lobbyist. No, I'm just kidding. But we are lucky to have someone from Mission being represented there, and excited for you and proud of you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you to staff for the nice, smooth transition to the DEFMA to WCA. It's been really well done, at least from my point of view.
You just went on the record.
What's that?
I said you just went on the record saying it was smooth. That's a
It
win.
was smooth, it was very smooth. And they picked up the old trash cans and delivered the new ones, and everything went quite well, so thank you very much. I also know that we had a great tree lighting ceremony, and I want to thank the staff and Park and Recs for all the work that you did to pull that off. And then lastly, thank you, Brent and Celia, for all the work that you've done on making sure our streets were cleared in time for Monday for rush hour and all that. It was a lot of work, and really appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you.
And finally, happy holidays to everyone.
Ken?
Just wanted to say, this is our last meeting of the year, and I just want to say how proud I am that we sit on this board, and how proud I am of all the people that come to the meeting and actually know what their city's doing and what their elected officials are doing on their behalf. I think it's real important to stay involved. We have numerous boards and volunteers. As Quinn said, they are the lifeline of our community, and they keep us going. a testament is that to the people that will show up to do wrapping and fixing baskets for families. This is a small community, it's 2.5 square miles, and it shows. It is a small community, we are family, our department heads are all in tune with their employees and with the council, and I think it's a wonderful place to live, and we're a family. And I just say happy holidays to everyone, and thanks for being part of this wonderful city.
We also had a very nice staff lunch, so thank you for inviting council members to that. That was really delightful, and I know that many of us were in attendance at that, so thank you.
Anyone else? All right, next we move on to the mayor's report, and we have a few appointments. So tonight we will be making appointments to our Board of Zoning Appeals and Planning Commission. Appointments to our other boards and commissions will occur at our January meeting. Our first appointment is Frank Bruce, Ward 3, to the Board of Zoning Appeals with a term expiring December 31st, 2022. Appointments to the BZA are for 3 years. Is there a motion?
I move the City Council uphold the appointment of Frank Bruce to the Board of Zoning Appeals with a term expiring December 31st, 2022.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call.
Thomas.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Schlossmacher.
Aye.
Rothrock.
Aye.
Boultinghouse.
Aye.
Crane.
Aye.
Inman.
Aye.
Flora.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Just wanted to mention, Frank Bruce does so many multiple things for our community. He's also our city historian.
Yes. Thank you. Our next appointments are to the Planning Commission. Burton Taylor, Ward 1, Brad Davidson, Ward 2, Jordan McGee, Ward 3, and Pete Christensen, Ward 4, to the Planning Commission with terms expiring on December 31st, 2021. Is there a motion?
I move the City Council uphold the appointments of Burton Taylor, Brad Davidson, Jordan McGee, Pete Christensen to the Planning Commission with terms expiring December 31st, 2020.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Martha, please call.
Davis.
Aye.
Schlossmacher.
Aye.
Rothrock.
Aye.
Boultinghouse.
Aye.
Flora.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Inman.
Aye.
Crane.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then I also, do we have anyone in the audience tonight that we just appointed, if you'd like to come forward and maybe recognize family or say a few words? Okay. Next, we have the city administrator's report. Ms. Smith, do you have a report?
I do have a few things, and I love to go last because you all check most of mine off in the list. So thank you. I would just like to say a special thanks to Councilmember Rothrock. I know you've stepped in on a number of occasions over this last month and have done an outstanding job in representing us and providing leadership at a variety of different events, from flipping the switch on the tree to the
Well, you guys
solemnity
prepare
of Pearl
me
Harbor.
really well.
Thank you. You all do a lot of great work, and it's really fun to kind of see you all out and about in a variety of different places and get to recognize that. I also want to echo the sentiments to our public works staff. We have a high standard and high expectations, and even with the new staff that we have, I think we had one employee that started Friday, about a week and a half ago, and so he got quickly acclimated to snow plowing and mission. But thank you to Brent and Celia and the crews for the work that they do. Just a reminder that City Hall will be closed for the Christmas holiday, the 24th and the 25th, and that our January committee meeting is going to be on January 8th, unless anybody wants to just come and hang out here on the 1st of January. Each year we'd like to end this meeting with a year-end video, and thanks to Emily for always doing such a great job of putting it together. But tonight I think could be a more perfect example that everything that we do is really all about the people. And I am humbled and amazed by what happens in this city every day. And proud to be a part of supporting you and the staff, our residents, and our businesses. 2020 is going to be a great year, and I think we're all looking forward to it. So thank you for all that you do. And we're gonna all kind of catch our breath over the next 2 weeks and be ready to go on January 1st. So here's our year-end video. Yeah, your legislative agenda, Charlie Trapito submitted some information earlier today regarding a statement he was unable to be here and he wanted that read into the record. We didn't read that out loud because it was on the consent agenda, but we will certainly have communicated with Mr. Trapito that that will be incorporated into the record.
Thank you. All right, there being no further business tonight, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I move that we adjourn this meeting.